Organizing a crusade is a very labor-intensive and entertaining business. It is quite possible that you will one day hear the sermons of the Pope and want to go and conquer the Holy Land. But do not rush, my young crusader, the journey requires huge expenses. And in this video you will learn how to raise money for a crusade. First of all, it is important to know what you will need for this difficult campaign, at least food, as well as mules, horses, equipment, and so on. Of course, you can count on help from your liege, as well as family and loved ones, but let's rely only on ourselves.
Where's the money, Lebowski?
You will hear this question all the time. The fastest way to make money is to sell your property, like the first crusaders. Cut the maximum amount of money for your castle, forests, or cattle. Take an example from Richard of Cornwall. He cut down and sold all the forests that belonged to him. Or Godfrey of Bouillon, he sold his county altogether. I can already see you starting to create an ad on eBay, but don't rush, you can always resort to loans. For example, borrow money from the church. Instead of selling the castle, mortgage it to the church and get money. The loot from the Holy Land will be more than enough to recoup these costs. Plus, as a bonus, they will pray for you, and if you die at the hands of a Saracen, then they will organize a funeral for you. They will hold a requiem mass. True, all your property after death will go to the church, but what's the difference? Remember that upon returning from the crusade, the debt must be repaid, so try to perform a feat on the battlefield. Perhaps your debts will be forgiven altogether. If you don't want to go to church, borrow from merchants or bankers, or finally from the Florentine houses, Spini, Bardi, Peruzzi. And if everything is really bad, ask your lord. But what if you are a king, and the Pope of Rome sent a letter to the post office with an appeal? To go to the Holy Land, how much money will it take? I'll tell you honestly, it will take a lot of money. So much that Richard the Lionheart was ready to sacrifice all of England to his goal. He had to sell his father's treasures, and this, by the way, was 100,000 funks. He sold the right to sovereignty over Scotland for 10,000 marks, sold the county of Northumberland, and was ready to sell even London if a buyer could be found. Do you already understand what amounts we are talking about? Here's another example, Louis IX. On his first campaign, the king, as he thought, spent more than 1.5 million tour livres, only 6 annual incomes of the French state. And these are only direct and transparent expenses, such as weapons, army maintenance, transportation. Well, plus, if you are captured, like Louis IX, it is better to think about the ransom amount in advance, and you will also have to spend a lot of money on gifts, deals, bribes, loans, and other salaries. Do not forget about the construction of various buildings, such as fortresses and ports. In total, taking into account all the expenses, Louis got a sum of 3 million livres. This is only 12 annual incomes of France. Do not be shy about taking money from the treasury. Everything goes for the good of God. Shake out every last crumb from the laity of Saladin's tithe. Let those who did not want to go with you on the crusade pay taxes on their income, demand donations from them, and introduce new taxes. More taxes to the god of taxes. Take an example from Louis the Saint. He received from the cities 274,000 livres just from one tax. Do not forget about your vassals. Actively interact with the church. After all, they have come up with many ways to collect money. Let people buy the crusade dinner, temporary indulgences, and generally let them invest money in the fight against the Saracens. Do not be shy, negotiate with the Pope. Do not forget that in exchange for a promise to go on a crusade, you can receive huge sums from the church. Now, my young crusader, you know how to quickly find money and finally set off on a long-awaited journey. Good luck!